Did the junior resource market finally respond to dynamic precious metals pricing? Many think so. Hi, George Sanders, President, Goldcliff Resource Corporation. It is Friday afternoon, June 6th, a little bit after the close of markets, and we have had a very interesting week, both in precious metals prices, particularly silver, but also, maybe about time, in the junior resource market. So we wanted to have a video available for you early Monday morning that will discuss some of the observations and some of the comments on market activity this week. In fact, we are interrupting the sequence of our spring update videos, the final one of which is due out on Tuesday. We have made some recent videos observing that the chart of the TSX Venture Exchange as proxy for the junior resource market looked pretty compelling. But behind that, or underlying that, was very anemic volume. So to put that in perspective, the last one of those videos on which we made those observations and provided commentary, volume was in the 120 to 135 million shares per day range. In the last 2 weeks, the volume has started to improve. The week of May 27, we saw volume now in the range of 145 to 155 million shares. And I'm going to give you today's or this week's trading statistics so I'm accurate with them. Monday was a pretty dramatic day because we had strong moves in precious metals, particularly gold. And on Monday, the TSX Venture Exchange volume was 193.7 million shares. On Tuesday, had a bit of a breather from that, 164 million shares traded. On Wednesday, we began a strong move in silver relative to gold. And on Wednesday, the volume improved to 184 million. And then yesterday, Thursday, we had that dramatic breakout above $35 an ounce in the silver price, trading as high as just over 36, and the volume was 224 million shares, and the week closed today's volume 182 million. So while modest, still very noticeable improvement in volume, week over week improvement. So something's going on. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement in the precious metals space, and it may be that that is finally spilling over. I'm going to provide a little further perspective for those numbers. Going back a number of years, a floor volume for TSX Venture was around 200 million shares. We have breached that former floor, now one would argue ceiling. We have breached that level a number of times over the past couple of years, but we have not sustained that level of volume. And even this week we didn't sustain it, even though the volume is moving up towards that. To put that number in perspective, the last time we had a really robust junior market, and TSX volume was in the 3 to 350 million shares per day, with more than 1 or 2 days over 400 million shares. So just to get back to the 200 level, one could make the argument that that is only a beginning. If you've been following our videos, you will know back as far as late last summer, we have been presenting our own observations and the observations of peers and of others, that there is, for the first time, equity participation in juniors by producing mining companies, majors, intermediates, and even junior producers. And we observed that there were one or two of these transactions that they provided interesting new valuations and brought a lot to the table for the companies in which they invested, and that might end up being a really good thing for the junior market and perhaps a catalyst for it to break out of its bear phase. I did get some pushback even from some good buddies of mine who said, yeah, that's all well and good, but those are one-offs. They're situation specific. Well, since that time last September, we're seeing more and more of those transactions to the point that I think we're seeing one or two a week. And so this is now a trend. And what I would like to invite our viewers to do is take a look at this Kitco video, which is an interview with Michael Gentile. And Mr. Gentile is a well-known portfolio manager and investor in the precious metals equity spaces, seniors, intermediates, developers, explorers. He knows the game very, very well. We have provided a link to that video in the description below, so please see it there. Don't be daunted by the plus 20-minute duration of the video. But if you're short for time, we suggest that you cut to about 3 minutes and 30 seconds and watch through till about 5 minutes and 30 seconds. And in those 2 minutes, Mr. Gentile lays out in a most articulate manner with excellent logic and background why the M&A activity that we're seeing in the junior resource space will likely continue and likely accelerate, and why that can be a catalyst for revaluation of stocks and companies in the space. Well worth your time to check that out. Now, as usual, I have to tell you I'm not an investment advisor. This is not investment advice. We're not making any predictions. Having said that, I will pass on some anecdotal pieces of information this week from various discussions. Everybody I know was busy on the phone, busy responding to texts and emails. So what my colleagues are telling me, what I myself have experienced, is that investors, prospective investors, they're returning phone calls, they're taking meetings. In those meetings, they're asking important and penetrating and thoughtful questions. In some cases, they're reaching out with phone calls, with texts, with emails, with questions. So the interest has returned. The volume tells us that some of that interest is coming into the market. The price movements in some of the stocks are evidence that that is happening. So we're not saying full on like game on, but we think we're very, very close. That's at least the result of the conversations that I've had with colleagues this week. So I'm very encouraged by what happened this week, and we look forward to what's going to go down in the next couple of weeks. I will say, typically in a breakout scenario, there can be some very discouraging pullbacks or consolidations sometimes quickly after the breakout. So just to be aware, if that happens, it doesn't mean everybody's wrong. You have to give it a little bit of time, but there is a feeling, I know I have it myself, and a number of my colleagues, the fellows, the men and women that are running junior public companies, feeling the same thing. So we may be on the verge of better times. Let's hope so. Thank you for tuning in, and be around tomorrow for the final video in our spring update series.